It's that time of week once more for Muji and Dan to give you the comic store. It's time to open up those bags and boards, fans. Welcome to Get Your Pulls.
Welcome to Get Your Pulls, number 85. We got 3 bros this week.
3 bros strong.
Bro number 1 is Muji.
Bro number 2 is Dan.
And the sometimes bro number 3, Todd Johnston. Here
Nice.
again.
Todd is a sometimes bro, but tonight he is here with us.
It's Muji and his amazing friends.
Yes. When there's a third bro, it's Todd.
85. If Get Your Pulls were a human, he would have outlived the normal American life expectancy.
Not bad.
Yes. It's pretty good. And he'd probably still be working.
Oh, damn.
Ouch. But true.
That was a shot on America. But anyways, nobody in particular. But
Take
we got,
that, America.
unless he had 6 kids, then he wouldn't be.
Steve
But-
Rogers cries a single tear.
That's true. Who's still like 28, based on the comics I'm reading. But we got stuff to talk about. Not a lot of news, but some kind of big news if it ends up holding. I'm gonna call bullshit on it, but Marvel announced this week that Captain America 3 will be released on the same day as Batman vs Superman. Which, if it ends up being that, then that's crazy.
It seems a little bold on their part.
Well, I think it's nuts because, I mean, honestly, like at this point, you know, if Cap 2 is as good as everybody says it is, everybody's saying it's great. Dan's already rated a 98 out of 100, with only possibly going down to a 97 after viewing.
99.
99, okay, my bad. But yeah, everybody's saying Cap 3 is great, and based on the...
Pre-score is 99.
Yes. Usually he just gives a pre-score 95 to comic book movies, so that's big.
Big stuff.
With a plus-minus 5 ratio in between. That's as far as you rise or fall. But everybody's saying it's great that I've seen so far. I mean, it's getting nothing. I mean, it's getting like probably even more than Avengers Top Love. Probably also because everybody had seen Avengers like a couple weeks before it came out, so you kind of knew. But right now it's just, you know, a few critics and everything, but everybody's loving it. So I think one thing to think is, that's going to be the first movie after Avengers 2. So I think there's also the idea that, like, what if, like, Captain America 3 and Batman vs Superman released the first week and Cap beat it? Yeah. That would be insane.
It really would, yeah.
That would be a huge bragging point for Marvel. I mean, I don't think in the end it's a ballsy move more in terms of, like, credibility. And I don't think in the long run, as far as actual dollars and cents, it's going to be a $1 million or $1 billion difference maker. Yeah. You know, I think over the course of the few weeks, certainly they're going to even out and make even amount of money probably. But
I don't think they're going to do it because I do think it is that. I think if you release both those movies the same week, it's going to hurt both of them.
Yeah.
And even when you're wanting bragging rights, I mean, even if Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman beats it bad, but then, you know, I mean, everybody right now is saying Man of Steel, if it doesn't make $1 billion, it's a failure because that's kind of the new thing. Iron Man 3 made over $1 billion.
Yeah.
Avengers did. Both the last 2 Batman movies both went above worldwide. So you're saying it's got to be at least $1 billion. So from one standpoint, you're looking at if Marvel released that movie, even if Cap doesn't, even if like what a lot of people would expect now, you know, it ends up making, you know, $400 million, which is still a lot of money, and Batman vs Superman makes $800, then they've hurt them. But I think both companies, I think that would hurt both of them because there are still going to be some people who are only going to go to one movie that month or whatever,
definitely.
and that's
fair enough, yeah.
And I also think, even though, you know, I think that really Marvel's throwing it out right now is just, you know, to see how big my dick is right at this moment. I mean, seeing as how DC doesn't have another movie coming out before then, so it's not like, you know, you have a lot more to get pumped up about.
Yeah, really.
In the end, both Disney and Warner Brothers want to make money more than they want to do anything. So even if Cap thought it could beat it, it's going to come off. They have like another date that's like 4 weeks later, I think I heard, that they have reserved. I'm positive they're going to push it because even if it's $100 million, that's not worth it to them. Like, if they're going to make $100 million less, it's not worth it to them just to say, ha ha, look, we beat your guy. Like, they want that extra money. They want that extra few $1 million.
Maybe let's play a game of chicken.
I think right now it just is chicken. I think at this moment they're just like, let's see if like Man of Steel moves, just so we can say we made you move. But I mean, I think at the end, both those movies are going to end up making a ton of money. As long as, I mean, that's just 2 years from now. Could be the last summer, because before long, these movies are going to stop making $1 billion. But I don't think it's going to be by then.
Yeah.
No, I think by 2016, they'll still be rolling strong. Interestingly enough, there was another rumor out there that Fox has come out and denied, but there certainly was a rumor that due to all the controversy still surrounding this Fantastic Four remake, was that they actually had fired director Josh Trank and the entire cast that they had just cast, and were just scrapping everything and rebooting the whole idea from scratch.
Yeah, I saw Fox release it, or they didn't release a statement. They just got back to somebody saying no, that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
But here's what I think, man. You know, when that we talked about last week, how when that Miles Teller was talking about the movie, I immediately always raise my eyebrow, because everybody does this. Everybody goes, well, this isn't your standard superhero movie. We got real characters in this one. And that's what Robert Downey Jr. said about Iron Man.
Yeah.
And it was great, but it was just a great superhero movie. I mean, it was, that character's not going to win an Oscar, but he's great. And so I hate how actors, every time they do one of these, like, I don't want you to think of me as you know, some sort of shitty actor, because I'm taking on the superhero role. Don't worry, this one's different. It's like, go watch go watch The Dark Knight and tell me that there can't be characters that are better than most movies and superhero movies. But he also said, too, these aren't going to be people running around in their Halloween costumes, and was like, you know, these four people, and you could call them the Fantastic Four, I guess. My thought is, like, what if, like, what he was saying was very accurate to the script, and they're not putting on uniforms, and not being like, we're the Fantastic Four, and then somebody at Fox read that script and was like, hey, man, you're putting them in the goddamn uniforms, you're calling them the Fantastic Four, like, you could be as artsy as you want, but we're still selling some fucking toys. It's like, you could go make this movie somewhere else if you, you know, call it something different, but this is what we have. So it wouldn't be the first time that, like, a director got fired, you know, right before a movie got made. But the only thing is, they're on a timeline, so that's the problem. Is really
that's right. If they don't get a movie made by a certain time, then the rights revert.
They have to. I think they have to start it by the end of this year. I think. Which, I mean, a lot of people might be happy if that happens. If the Fantastic Four went back to Marvel, I mean, that'd be pretty great.
It would be the closing gap. I mean, of course, everybody wants the X-Men, but you get all of the cosmic side of the Fantastic Four that comes with it, that Marvel's already built so much of their universe on. So in addition to Thanos and the Kree and the Skrulls and
Surfer for like a Defenders movie or something.
You get the Silver Surfer, and you get Galactus, and you get so much more with the Fantastic Four.
Oh yeah.
Doctor Doom, for God's sake.
Oh right, yeah.
I've heard small rumors though, and this seems like it's possible. Like, I've always been saying there's just too much money, nobody's gonna split it. Like, we're not gonna see Wolverine in the Avengers or something, because Fox is going to want, you know, $100 million or something, and their Marvel and Disney are going to say, like, we're not going to make or lose any extra money at all, depending on, you know, who we put in it, which I think is going to be made obvious if Guardians of the Galaxy ends up making as much money as I think, which is going to be in the, like, more than $500,000, lower than $1 billion range. Like,
I think it'll surprise some people.
I think it's going to make a high amount, especially because it's the most kid-friendly looking movie.
Yeah.
And Disney movies and Pixar movies have been, like, making crazy amounts of money lately. So if you throw on the Marvel tag, I think it's going to make way more money than people were expecting. But if it does that, then, I mean, it's simply going to prove, like, it doesn't fucking matter right now who you throw in these movies. If it says Marvel, you know, then they're going to make money. But I heard a rumor that I thought seems way more possible, because I do think that this would be, like, a small enough deal, because who doesn't want, like, a free 10 or 20 million bucks, was that the possibility of Spider-Man being in one of these upcoming movies. Saw where, what's his name, the guy that's playing Spider-Man.
Garfield.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield said he would be 100% down. Would love to be in one of these Avengers movies as Spider-Man. And kind of like hinted that, like, he said he was pretty sure that, like, that's been discussed. So when you think about that, like, that's going to do nothing but, it seems like, boost the Spider-Man movies, seeing as how the ones under Disney are making so much more money. You know, when this last Spider-Man movie came out, it did great, but it didn't do like Avengers great, which is what you might think, because Spider-Man, you know, just a few years ago was most certainly like the most popular Marvel character movie-wise. You know,
he's been the flagship Marvel character from the beginning. Really,
if they throw like, you know, imagine they throw like a paltry like $20 million at Sony, like $20 million for us to put him in the movie. You think they're going to take the free money and it's going to help everybody? So I think that's a lot more possible. I think that's something that wouldn't shock me if we actually saw that happening, which would be very exciting.
It'd be a big win for Spidey fans.
Yeah, I mean, plus, you know, it would probably be I'm sure it'd be in a situation where he's not going to be one of the stars of the movie. He would, you know,
like
as small as a cameo, or just, you know, a little bit of the movie, a few scenes, you know, that would be.
Or make him like, you know, kind of one of those on-call Avengers that just can come in whenever. He's still an Avenger, but he's not on the main team. Like,
could you imagine him just showing up for a fight or something? Like, sitting in the theater and be like, "Oh fuck!" I mean, you would never. That would get spoiled. You would never. You would never be able to walk into the movie not knowing that was going to happen. But you would have to, like, from the moment they started filming, you would have to go on internet blackout completely. Not just social media. You go to check your email on the Yahoo front page, it'd be like, "Spider-Man's Avengers 3." You'd be like,
"Can't talk to your friends."
Can't read the newspaper. Yeah, I can't accept one text message for 15 months. But yeah, that's it for the news. Could be big news, but probably nothing. But isn't most of the news we bring here on Getchyapulls?
Yeah.
But since Todd's here, I guess we'll go back.
We'll go back to the long box again. Talk about some stuff from the past. This week, I guess we'll go back to the bookshelf. I recently read Supergods by Grant Morrison. It's his semi-autobiographical novel, and also kind of just a history of superhero comics and superheroes in general. And it was a really entertaining read. I mean, sometimes it felt like he kind of wasn't sure which way he wanted to go with it, but it's really cool.
Like a Grant Morrison book.
Well, yeah. At first, it was all history, like just talking about specific events and when characters came out, like the whole. Like when Marvel came about and they dominated sales for a long time. And that's when
the drugs set in.
Yeah, I mean, eventually he gets to like where he starts to get his career. And it was really interesting stuff, just his insight into various characters and what they mean to him. And of course his trippy, you know, course that he took with the Invisibles and all that, where it was all based upon like a hallucination or maybe an alien or a spiritual encounter with these beings that led him to write these incredible comics throughout the years. So you kind of have to take him with a grain of salt. And he does mention that in the book. And he's like, his whole viewpoint on that is like, you don't have to believe me. Maybe I was out of my mind on drugs. Maybe I was a little mad at the time, but I know what I saw. But it was a very entertaining read, and I recommend it. Look for it on the shelf. Supergods.
Nice. Yeah, he's entertaining. He told a bunch of good stories on
Batman
and Batman. He's
that was probably one of the best
episodes,
or 2 episodes.
There's a documentary on Grant on Hulu. If you have Hulu Plus subscribers out there, it'll just search Grant Morrison, and it's pretty interesting.
Heck yeah.
What's this, Grant Morrison Talking to Gods? Is that what
I think so, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
It's made by the same people that made the Image doc.
Yeah,
They've been making these things for all. There's an Alan Moore one they made, which is mostly, I can sum that up with, I'm Alan Moore. Everything I say is correct, and I'm crazy.
Right. Yeah, Alan Moore talks a lot of shit about Grant Morrison. And likewise, Morrison didn't have very positive things to say about. I mean, Alan Moore, he loves his comics, which is a little different.
Basically, Alan Moore, there's a great interview. It's legitimately like 18 pages long, so you got to sit down and know you have a reading. But Alan Moore gave an interview a couple months ago, which he claimed is his last interview he's ever going to give.
I read an excerpt from that.
And a lot of it was just him saying that everything Grant Morrison has ever written in his whole life was stolen from Alan Moore. That he stole his ideas, that when he heard an Alan Moore comic was coming out, he would go and do his version and get it shipped out quicker. That he tried to be Alan Moore's friend, but Alan Moore didn't find him a respectable writer, so he denied him friendship, and ever since then Morrison's been trying to get back at him. Because Grant Morrison also talks like, I guess maybe he's come around, because he's talked pretty positively about Alan Moore ever since then. But I think it is one of those things where Grant Morrison feels like, he was the next guy, like Alan Moore he was the guy, and and he looked up to him, and Alan Moore just kind of shat on him.
Yeah, I mean, his writing was probably influenced by Moore from the beginning, but
Yeah,
like
he
a lot
says
of their
that.
history is at the same time, like right after like
Yeah, 'cause-
86 to
Well, yeah,
throughout
because
there.
Grant Morrison really because of Alan Moore, that's how him and Gaiman
Yeah,
and a few other guys got picked up by DC when they're like, there's got to be more Alan Moores out there. So he, actually directly helped him in the comics. But yeah, Grant Morrison is crazy. But like, listen to him talk about stuff, like you kind of get to where his things are so unique, and
yeah.
that's how
so
good
you
it is.
want to believe
Yeah,
what
'cause-
he's saying is true.
Yeah, because even behind like the stuff, like he made a good point, which I never thought about things this way, where he talked about how Batman is real.
yeah,
They talked about like he was like Batman. He's like he gives you feelings, right? He's like when you watch like a Batman movie, he's like you may get mad or sad or cry. He's like he brings up real feelings. He's like so he's as real as anything else. And I think if you read Morrison stuff with that in mind, I mean, it really makes sense. If like somebody like if art can like make you cry and stuff, even like fake stories,
yeah.
it's just like it's almost as real in your
It's
mind
like
as like a
more
memory
real.
is,
Yeah, he was here before we were born. He'll be here when we're in the grave.
Yeah,
Batman's an entity. I mean, he may not be flesh and blood, but
yeah.
he's around.
Always like if you listen to Morrison talk as well, he comes across very warm and friendly. Not at all what most guys of that level of intellect.
Yeah, you
come
think he'd be all
across as.
pretentious?
You would
but he's just
imagine
the
Grant
nicest
Morrison
guy
being
that can be.
pretentious for sure.
Oh, yeah.
When you read him, sometimes you're like, man, that guy is pretentious.
Yeah,
But when
yeah.
if
It turns
you
out
listen
he's just
to
a
him,
weirdo.
He just
Yeah,
really
he
is
is.
like he's so genuine.
He's
he
a
believes
super
it.
sweet, weird guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's tied probably with like 1,000 other people, but tied as someone who loves Batman the most in the world. Like you can get that from talking to him too. Plus, it's also awesome listening to him. How he's just a guy that like has loved comics forever and will always love comics. He's not a guy like Alan Moore or some other people
He
that
just
want,
feels like ashamed of
that
all
once
the stuff he's
that
done
once
now.
that once they get past it, like he's was never gonna shit on it.
Yeah.
Same as like Neil Gaiman. Like he's also cool, even though he became a respected writer. For writing books that won him awards and stuff. Like he's the one that's always been like, yeah, I still like comics. But even Grant Morrison's like, I still read comics like every month. Like I got a pull list. So
Yeah, he's one of us.
it's awesome when people don't become dickheads when they achieve the most they can at certain things. But that's awesome. I guess I got a back to longbox this week. Read Uncanny X-Men Volume 1 Omnibus, which you can get for pretty small price for the content. It's I got it
Looks
for
like a massive tome.
$49.99. I think they jacked it
bad.
up to $54.99, just $5
Yeah.
more bucks off cheap graphic novels. It's more on Amazon, but if you buy from somewhere that's not cheap graphic novels, for the most part, you're fucking up. If you're gonna spend more than like $50. Only thing on there is you gotta pay $6 to ship, so you need to at least get you a decent little order, because sometimes if you get 2 things on Amazon, get free shipping, it works out the same.
Yeah.
Like that, but for the most part, order from there. They're the best. But yeah, I got it $55. It's 30 something issues of X-Men. Starts with X-Men Giant Size number 1, and then goes on for another almost 40 issues. And it's badass because that's the modern day X-Men pretty much began there. It's pretty great. There's a lot of great things you see. You see over the course of the thing how at first like Wolverine just is barely not even there for like the first like 25 issues, and then you can kind of like gather in your head like how about what time he started becoming like a more popular character, because all of a sudden he does things in stories. Like he's just seriously, like out of the whole team it's like Colossus, Nightcrawler, Storm, like he's basically last on the totem pole, even to what's his fucking name, the Irish
Banshee.
Banshee is like number 2 in command to Cyclops on this team. That's how
really
far.
wanted to play him up early on.
Yeah, that's how far down the line Wolverine is. But he ends up, over the course of the book, you're like, oh, he's one of the main people. And it's got a bunch of big events. It's got where Jean turns into the Phoenix. First gets the Phoenix in her body.
Nice.
And comes back as the Phoenix. No death of. That's a while away, I think.
Yeah,
but
that's in the Dark Phoenix saga.
yeah, that's still a couple years. Probably the next omnibus. They cover so many issues. I'm guessing they'll probably be within the next 40 issues after this. But it's it's awesome. I would definitely say it's by far, because these issues will run you, and even the trade paperbacks, you can't get everything. By far the cheapest way to catch up on that. And they've got a second volume out right now that just came out. within the last month, so I'm assuming they're going to keep putting those out. It'll probably get you at least like into the 90s, so I'll pretty much give you... You can pretty much read X-Men up until it gets confusing, and at that point, reading one X-Men book would do you no good.
Yeah.
So, at a certain point, you need an omnibus of like, here's 4 issues of 8 different books that are 32 issues in this omnibus.
Well, collected usually in the omnibuses, they're good about including or omitting. So, you know, they're either going to include the tie-in issues from the other books to give you the full story, or they're just going to cut it out altogether.
Yeah.
They're usually not going to give you part of a story. But it's a great thing about the collected editions. So, definitely a good value, and you're leaving it with me, and as the premier ex-dork of this area, I'm just so fucking excited to dig into that. I can't understand it. I've read a lot of that stuff over time in bits and pieces.
Bits and pieces here too, yeah.
Never like in that type of collected format, and that starts
see the
right
whole history.
the definitive. Like, after you get past the weird 60s where Xavier was like a strange, stern taskmaster who was really mean and cruel to the students.
He's a little mean in this, but he over the course of it becomes a little less. There are some times he does slap somebody at one point. It's like, what?
That's
like,
brave.
what are you doing? I think my favorite part in there, they used to also have a lot more... There was a lot more freedom with editor's notes. They used to like to try to throw a lot of jokes at you in these books. That's something I noticed in his. Once when John Byrne takes over the art, as Dave Cockrum had been doing the art, and at the end of like the issue, it's like, this is in special thanks and memory of Dave Cockrum, and then there's like editor's note, Dave, I'm not dead. So that was pretty good. A lot of the ones I'm just like, they're bad, but that was a good joke.
Yeah.
Preach.
Outstanding. Well, I had Back to the Longbox also continuing my journey into the world of Chew by John Layman and Rob Guillory from Image Comics. This is Volume 2, International Flavor. If you recall the last time when I brought you Chew Volume 1, explained that we're living in a world where there's been a poultry virus, the bird flu, has killed many people in the world, so they banned chicken. Chicken is a black market commodity.
Oh, damn.
And Detective John Chew,
no racist pun intended,
who now works for the FDA, is a cybopath. He can take one bite of anything and get a psychic imprint of its history. As a result, he cannot eat many normal dishes that we all can because it puts him through great pain, so he mainly only eats beets. That's just a little bit of background. Into Volume 2, his old partner from back in his detective days returns as part cyborg. The last time we saw this guy, he got hit in the face with a meat cleaver, and we were led to believe that he possibly died as John Chew moved on to his new job in the FDA. But no, John Colby survived, and he came back with some cybernetic parts in his face, but also hired by the FDA, and is now Chew's partner once again. So it's nice to see the team from the original book back together. And, of course, Chew's boss still hates him. He sends him to investigate a giant pile of shit, hoping that he'll eat it. And, of course, he refuses. Essentially, they uncover a ring based on... there's lots of chicken in this resort in international waters, and he's trying to figure out where it's coming from. And they come to find out that it's not chicken at all, that there's this plant that they're harvesting that when cooked tastes just like chicken, but if consumed
big
raw,
surprise.
If consumed raw, will cause you to trip like mushrooms.
Oh, nice.
So, and there's a lot of murder and mystery and mayhem and lots of good fun. Highly recommended. Hilarious, gruesome, intense. If you like detective drama, it's all there. It's one of my favorite new books that I've picked up.
It's a neat premise, for sure, yeah.
Do you think that was the premise, or do you think that somebody bit into a celery stalk and said tastes like chicken, and John Layman was like, I'm going to write a book about that?
Oh my God. I've got it.
Yes, I got the key. Well, it's time to talk about some pulls.
That's right.
Yeah, pull
I had some good pulls this week. Start with the old DCU. Sadly, Nightwing 29, the Kyle Higgins finale, There's going to be one more issue, not written by Kyle Higgins, because, you know, that makes sense, but 29, it's over. Yeah, Dan's...
I'm pouring some back to my homies.
Yeah, he's faking like he's pouring some out, but if
I thought you were really going to do that.
if he did it, it would be on the carpet, and it wouldn't be good.
Possibly would splash on our comics.
Yeah.
It's true. He might screw this up.
I haven't taped these yet.
It might be a $3 pull, or a $3 pour, actually. But yeah, it was the last one written by Kyle Higgins, and it was awesome, and I liked it. From her last issue, little girl Jen saw her parents get killed by Victor Zsasz, and then Nightwing's got to go try to keep her from getting sliced up and becoming yet another mark on Zaz's bod. And it was really good. The whole thing was a finale, you know, kind of summed up the whole Kyle Higgins Nightwing run. Very sad it's over. And one more issue next month, written by James Tynion. I can only imagine that means James Tynion is going to be writing the next Nightwing series, which they said is going to be Nightwing and Bluebird.
Interesting.
So, still got to make a decision on that. Probably give it a shot, but who knows. But it was a great book. For my next couple DC books, which were big ones, Superman Wonder Woman number 6, the end of the first arc. It's good. The cover says Zod and Feora to the death. And that's what it is. They fight. It's basically most of the issue is just them fighting Superman and Wonder Woman. And it's a badass fight. And it ends pretty awesomely. It ends... I don't want to spoil it, but it ends... kind of romantic, but kind of awesome.
Let's see.
So, it's pretty cool. And then...
That book is just so good.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I might have shit on Tony Daniels' writing a couple of times, but, like, never let it be said that I don't think he's one of the best artists in the business. Just, like, that book always looks so huge. And the writing by Charlie Soule is perfect to accompany it, and it really is like the perfect superhero comic book.
It's great. And I guess I'm going to give a minor spoiler because it's the only way I can describe this part. Not what happens to them by the end of the book, but at a certain point, they basically get thrown into an old, no longer working, like power plant, which is made of lead, so Superman can't see out of it, and Wonder Woman can't get out either because she's too fucked up. And they have Superman tell Wonder Woman, they do a reverse Han Solo. Superman tells Wonder Woman he loves her, and then Wonder Woman gives the I know, which I thought was good and interesting, but I can also only imagine people, comic book nerds around the internet, like giving like DX suck it signs to themselves, be like, look at that gender reversal. I imagine that popped a lot of people for that reason. Not because it was just awesome writing, but because they were so pumped up. See? We can
have it too.
Reverse that gender role like a motherfucker, Charles. Some people are too concerned with that. But anyways, I thought that was funny. On to Batman number 29. Zero Year.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you got that.
Yes, it was probably one of the best books I read.
It was a hell of a book. It was great.
I guess this is the end of the second story arc.
It is the end. It is the end of the second story arc. Yes, it is the end of this part. Dark City.
How long is there? 3?
Yeah.
It's the end of Dark City, and the next one, the next issue is, what is it called? Savage City. I think there's 3 more issues in Zero Year. Because when they started, they said it was going to be 11 issues, but then we got that one future look last month, so ended up being 12 issues long. Like, you know, the break in between caused it to be like a year-long event.
Yeah, I have no problem with seeing more of Zero Year.
It's been great.
Quite fantastic to see this. I mean, because why not? We've not seen this Gotham being built in this new 52. It started off all, 5 years in the future.
I'm going to miss the Zero Year costume because, I mean, it's kind of goofy looking, like with the purple gloves, but it's really grown on me, and I dig it a lot.
It's pretty badass, yeah. I mean, it's a great play, a great combo of the old original outfit.
Yeah, the cowl looks about like his first appearances.
Yeah, it's great. Snyder, once again, Capullo, of course, doing the best artwork per round.
Oh, yeah, no question.
but Snyder writing, like, he's done such a great job of, like, one thing. I love Death of the Family, but some of the stuff in there did seem like a greatest hits. Like, even though it was awesome, there was some stuff that were like, it's cool he worked that in. But in 0 Year, he completely takes the little things and makes them completely his own, where they have nothing to do with, like, the air balloons in Gotham. He's made those. Yeah, he's made those so awesome. Like, they play an integral role in the story. Because you're like, why the fuck would they have the hot air balloons, like, running around, like, 20 years ago? Like, that's a terrible technology, but he explains it, like, completely makes sense. And by the end,
completely plausible.
And by the end of it, he pretty much explains why they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, the problems that could cause with, like, good criminals. And it does an awesome job of, like, flashing back. I mean, you've seen how many times out of, between Detective and Batman, the 2 runs, and Batman and Robin, everything, probably 2,000 Batman books. 1 out of every 10, probably, you get flashbacks to him, to Bruce dying. But this actually does a great job of working it into the story.
Yeah, it was a super succinct and, like, no frills attached to it. It was just like, I mean, it was like a 3-page spread, but it was intermixed with stuff that was actually happening in the story. It's a new take on the death of Bruce's parents.
And I love the poster, which shows you why I don't ever want to be a cop in Gotham on the very first page. It says, it says, don't be afraid, join the GCPD with a bad guy pointing a gun at you.
Yes.
Like, who would ever want to be a cop in Gotham City? That's the worst job in the world.
Dark Knight Returns.
Yes, but it's awesome. You get the Dark Knight Returns.
Issue.
Yes.
This time
nice
the
little
big,
pin
giant pink lightning bolt.
Yeah.
That was probably one of my favorite moments in the whole story of him making that leap.
Yeah, but there's so many badass things in here, and already they've brought the Riddler up to just, an A+ Batman villain. And I always feel like,
I'm really liking Sideburns Riddler.
Yeah, I've always felt like the Riddler gets like some props because he was on the TV show and the movie, but in the comics, he's really been more of like a B villain forever. He's just the guy that shows up to give some riddles when Batman's fighting other people. But they really made him really awesome in this book, so...
Each of the stories Snyder's done so far in the Batman series has had its own kind of feel, artwork-wise, that is kind of distinct from previous ones. And this one, even, it kind of seems like it has that Batman Forever color palette, like with the pinks and purples
it is way
and
brighter.
bright blues.
Everything that happens in it is way brighter than like a lot of the other things. There's a lot of pastels used and stuff in this.
You think it would look stupid and garish. I mean, it looks kind of garish sometimes, but it really fits the style of what they're trying to do in it.
Yeah, it also does a good job too of separating of like, this is like a different time, so it gives it. I mean, we're at now like it's supposed to be. I mean, it's only supposed to be what, like 6 or 7 years ago, because that's how long like the thing's been going. But it sets it more like 20. Like it really looks more like the 80s than what it looks like now. It certainly looks like the past, but it's great. Buy the book.
If there's one comic you can recommend, like, without a doubt, that's...
There's any time people like, I only read Marvel books, DC's not putting anything good.
Go pick up Batman.
If you're not reading Batman and Wonder Woman, you're a fuck up. You can't, I mean, I seriously, like, art is, for the most part, your own opinion, but if you like comics and somehow don't like this Batman, I feel like it must be because you have a stick up your ass, because I can't find anything wrong with it.
Yeah. It's pretty flawless.
No, it's a whimsical adventure of the Dark Knight, just like you want.
Yes.
And love it. And that was the only DC.
Yeah, that's my only DC for this week.
Well, that too. Staying first in the new 52, JLA number 13. I'm kind of ready for this book to be over, to be quite honest.
What do you got? One more is all?
I think there's one more. Yeah, Matt Kent. It started out, of course, Geoff Johns writing it. Yeah. Matt Kent took it over, and I stuck with it, but the tie-in to Forever Evil has really drug out, and I'll explain why here in this issue. Okay. It has focused on 2 characters. I like Stargirl, certainly a character that hasn't gotten much attention in the new 52, and they're building her up. Don't have a problem with that. Martian Manhunter, one of my favorite characters, so you'd think that I was all about it, and I was, up until the point that they've drug this, the Justice League is inside a prison in Firestorm's mind deal out for like 6 issues now. Yeah. And so at the end of the last issue, you saw they were about to fight Despero. Well, they fight Despero, they free the Justice League, only to find out that they're actually still in the prison because it is in Despero's mind.
Yeah.
And
A little swerve to get an extra issue out of it.
so they have to find Wonder Woman, who is the key to getting them out, and they find out where she is, and they're off to go see her at the end.
Okay.
So
Sounds
it's
like a little battle the atom pull to me.
Yeah.
Like, let's continue this conversation in a different area.
Yeah, let's tread water for a month.
Yes.
Fucking drug on, and so I'm interested in Justice League United when it comes out, but I don't know. I think I may scrap it in favor of the Secret Origins book.
Not a bad choice.
So,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I kind of thumbs in the middle on that one, I have to say. Smallville Alien #4, the wrap up of this. What they're doing now with the arcs in Smallville, instead of continuous numbering, they're just numbering each arc. Gonna get very confusing unless you have some sort of flow chart to,
Oh, yeah.
to decipher what goes where. But this has been a really awesome storyline. It's really been the Smallville version of their Crisis on Infinite Earths. The Anti-Monitor has appeared in Smallville form, of course. Batman and Superman and Lex Luthor all had to team up to try to take him out. Nightwing, who's Barbara Gordon in this book, gets what would look to be mortally wounded. You meet the Batman from the evil Earth, who is also the Joker of that Earth.
Weird, yeah.
So, and he and Bruce have it out and really have this final battle, and with Lex's help, him and Superman together take down the Anti-Monitor. But of course, they don't continue that friendship for very long, as that would kill the whole dynamic then, wouldn't it? And of course they tease at the end that Wonder Woman is going to come help Superman and Batman on the next adventure, as they try to dissect the body of the Anti-Monitor and figure out what happened. So they're teasing the JLA.
Okay, nice.
So
Sweet.
Smallville, much better than JLA.
Yeah.
This month.
Well, I guess we're moving over to Marvel. Is that with
Big
On the
M.
X-Men #24? Trial of Jean Grey, Part 5 of Sixer. This thing's moving on a pretty brisk pace. So really, I guess you get a part a week, because Guardians of the Galaxy and All the X-Men are both bi-monthly,
Yeah.
so...
It's been quite enjoyable. I haven't read this issue yet, but I've enjoyed it thus far.
It's been cool. This issue probably goes as you might think, that probably when they get to the end of this, they're going to have a little trial.
Yeah. Well, they've been trying to have it this whole time,
Yes.
but things happen like
They almost get to
Star-Lord's
have
dad
it, but
jumping in and trying to activate the Phoenix power, I guess.
they almost get to have it, but there's one more issue to this, so they can't have it yet.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. It's pretty entertaining. I mean, it's basically the issue is just Gladiator and Shi'ar fighting against the X-Men and the Guardians of the Galaxy and Cyclops' dad and his crew.
It's a pretty sweet battle
He
at the
somehow-
very end.
He somehow kicks their ass for the most part.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
the Gladiator pretty much is like winning like a 1-on-14 for most of the issue.
Yeah.
He
You
is
get
a
a cheap
bad
shot by
motherfucker.
Cyclops.
That's
It's
true.
like an opportunist's cheap shot. Like, it's not
Yeah.
cowardly. It's just he took his shot. I mean, that's the best chance he's got against him. But like any Bendis book, the meat of the book is just dialogue, like characters talking, which is fine. I mean, that's his bread and butter there.
You gotta say, one thing that Marvel has done with this, bringing the original X-Men to the future, is they've created that seed of doubt, because now you're starting to get attached to these characters
Yeah.
again. And the funny thing about it is that they could kill him off because they
Yeah.
don't have any ties to him. So is Jean Grey safe? Maybe this is their
But
chance
yeah.
to return. Maybe not.
At the same time, if they're popular enough, why not just keep them in the Marvel Universe and just have this be the X-Men of the Marvel Universe?
As they're going to do with Cyclops, already
Yeah.
announced a new ongoing. Greg Rucka returning to the Marvel fold, going to be writing a Cyclops ongoing about Cyclops as the young original Cyclops and Corsair traveling throughout the galaxy on father and son missions. It should be interesting.
I feel like Jean Grey is going to end up going Back to the Future 2 style.
Yeah.
Then in the end, they're going to send the original X-Men back, and then she's going to walk right in the room and be like, I thought we sent you to the past. And she's like, yeah, but I'm back in the Marvel now. And then she's just going to be back as herself.
Yeah.
It's going to be like when the Doc ripped up the note telling him he's going to die,
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
put it back together. She's going to have the information. She's going to do some special thing where she hides all of her future, when she gets a mind wipe, except for how to build, except for the fact that she's gonna die and win. So instead of fucking dying, she's gonna go live off by herself in hiding for like fucking 10 years.
Yeah,
and then
I
pop
could
back
definitely
up.
see that.
I haven't been dead. I've just been living on another planet. I'm back. I'm here to say.
So she's been dead since like the new X-Men death.
Yes.
Grant Morrison.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of figured, because I don't know how many times she's come back, and that's a big
Yeah,
thing.
it's
Is
funny.
dying,
They
coming
kind
back.
of pretend in continuity, like when they talk
That
about
she's been
it,
dead
that-
since the Phoenix.
Yes.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
But they, I mean, we all know that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
try to hide it, but they just, when they talk about her death, the flashbacks always show the Phoenix.
Yeah.
And, you know, usually show Magneto. I think he decapitated her. Didn't he do something
I
fucking
think Wolverine
horrible?
had to take her out the second time.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
So I think there have been at least one flashback where it shows Wolverine jumping at her. I don't know though. I'll have to go back and research good 24 issues. See
Oh,
what
no,
happens.
Hawkeye number 17. After the last issue, pumped up. Clint got shot in the back of the head with an arrow.
Oh shit.
So his brother. So couldn't wait to see what was going to happen to them. Gonna have to wait. Who knows how long? Because you never know when these books are coming out. Because
Yeah.
issue number 17 is awesome, but it's about a cartoon.
What the fuck?
Clint is babysitting some kids in his building
At Christmas time, apparently.
at Christmas time, and they watch a Peanuts-inspired cartoon that lasts the whole issue about a dog.
Fucking Matt
pretty
Fraction, goddamn you.
Yes. That asshole. But it's
Never
really
a dull-
awesome.
Never a dull moment with the Fraction.
It's awesome, but it's about a dog, and it's really good too, because I saw he did an interview where he kind of explained this and the other stuff in Hawkeye. This is pretty awesome. I can't remember where it's at. I think it's on his blog, but it's pretty heart-wrenching. He said his dog died, and it depressed the fuck out of him. If you listen to Matt Frank's interview, he does seem like a guy that might deal with that a little bit. And also, all of his Marvel books weren't selling, so he thought that he was going to get fired soon.
Yeah.
Because his books were selling well. And so he decided to write Hawkeye about his dog. That was the idea. Like, his whole reason for doing it was like, I'm just going to write about my dog and how much I like him. And then this is kind of the culmination of it. So
Apparently it worked.
it worked because he's on top of the world now as a comic books writer, I would think. But it gives you a little more insight when you're like, why the fuck is this always, there's so much about Pizza Dog in here. That's it. So it's a pretty good story.
Interesting insight there. I didn't know
But even though it did not give me the information I desired, it was still another awesome issue.
Still a good book, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't always get what you want. You get what you need, I guess. It's a comic. You can't really need it, but
Oh,
that. Yes. And then what you got? A little dead poo.
Little dead pig.
He's got 1 month till he gets married.
Yes, he does. Interesting that they picked this. Like, what the fuck is Marvel editorial thinking?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the thought process, and I'm thinking that maybe they said, well, if we just say it's a .1 jumping on point,
Yeah.
and we put the blow off of the fucking last 6 issues of stuff that you've been doing in this
Yeah.
issue, it wraps up everything that's been going on in a nice package and starts a new story over the next issue. Not really a jumping on point, because it's actually where he kills the bad guy that he's been chasing for 6 issues.
Well, I mean, maybe it's just a
has
joke.
a final blowout fight with crossbones in
Yeah.
a street in his underwear.
That's happened.
So-
That's happened a bunch with Marvel, with the new Marvel now. That is not the first time that you've got an issue with a 1 on the front that you're like, this might be like the beginning of this little part of the story, but like, damn it, you needed to read at least the last 4 issues. I have any idea what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it gives a nice little recap. Well, he's been chasing this guy, and he sent crossbones up in a balloon, and now they both hate him. And then he kills one of them and fights the other one for the rest of the issue.
Yeah.
But, and you also find out the deal with Agent Preston is that she really did get her soul put back in the LMD, so who is the crazy voice in Deadpool's head? Speculation is that it could be the artificial intelligence from the evil LMD that the evil S.H.I.E.L.D. agent had created that he had to track down. So all the usuals at Deadpool's zaniness, and it was a great issue, but just that was my only beef with why the
The
fuck
number
call
one on
it
the
a number 1 when it's a finale.
Maybe it's
Nice.
just for the joke factor of like poking fun at all the other
It could
number
be.
ones.
Yeah,
out
it
there.
could
It's like,
be.
hey,
I
Taco's
mean-
number one.
Very well could be.
Well, I got Superior Spider-Man, Goblin Nation Part 3, number 29. A lot of 29s this month because of the new 52 29s coming out, and then this is catching up quick with its double shipments. But
Gotta love those.
oh yeah,
You know.
I had to drop a few books just because they're coming out way too much.
I was afraid on Daredevil. Daredevil, they jacked up to $4 with the redo, and I'm hoping it's
Yeah.
not coming out
Oh,
double
that-
shipped.
Maybe it's just a big,
'Cause it was $3.
big fat ass issue.
Nah, I doubt it.
Chad, this issue, Goblin's fucking with the old Octo Spidey some more, trying to blow up some key buildings and people he loves, and that is closely connected to his storyline. And he kidnaps Anna Maria, his diminutive girlfriend in this storyline. And he tries to make him think that he has her back at the old college, but he shows up and it's Dr. LeMay's, which is kind of a dumb move on Norman Osborn's part, because he kind of grew up hating LeMay's. But once he whips out his tentacles, Goblin shows that he is somehow control of all technology somehow. A little bit of sloppy writing there, but he rips up his costume, and long story short, ends up killing the Dr. LeMay's. Spoiler alert. Yeah. But there's a nice tender moment of where he's like, LeMay's kind of jumped in front of the arm to save him at the last minute from getting stabbed himself, Spider-Man. And, they have a little tender moment. He's like, you inspired me to be a hero. I realize I've been cowardly in my past, so...
Look, it's a couple issues that left, right?
Yes, and also Jameson has sent out the Spider Slayers to take down Spidey, and it looks like 2099's jumping in there to do a little bit of a team up to help out. So.
Nice. He's getting his own book, so gotta do
well,
it.
that's nice. I haven't heard that yet.
Just thinking about that. I
Yeah.
signed up to get Spider-Man back when it comes out, and I know it'll be $4 and double shipped.
Yeah.
Something Marvel, I think, doesn't pay attention to when it comes to like these double shipping books. For the price of just reading Wolverine and the X-Men, let's say, for a month, you can have Netflix or Hulu.
Yeah,
That's something to keep in mind.
it
The
is.
entertainment value of a double shipped $4 book, you're paying the same as you could to have Netflix.
Oh, I saw the...
When you think about it that way, you're like, I'm not fucking getting rid of all. I'm not getting comics anymore.
Is it worth it?
Yes.
I saw perhaps the worst comic shop news preview of all time this last week, and it said it was trying to preview the first 3 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, and all it said was Amazing Spider-Man 1 through 3 will have impacts on future storylines in the Amazing Spider-Man, and that was it. Oh, really? You think?
Yeah.
So,
Nice. I saw a picture of Dan Slott. He seems to be trying to reinvent himself.
yeah.
He still weighs
That's like
the
with
same.
Subway sandwiches?
No. He still weighs. The same amount as a car, but he has decided to stop trying to pull off the Costanza and is now
Yeah.
going completely bald on top, but grew out a big beard. So he's trying to look
Let's
tough.
see.
So maybe he's toughening up. I
Maybe
mean,
a little toughen up
there's
his
no way,
writing
he still has to
skills a little
have.
bit.
He has like a way more annoying voice than I do. So he's got a real shit voice. I heard him on a podcast
Yeah.
one time, so I don't think he can change that. But I saw a picture of him and I was like, Dan Slott. It's like he must be about to do something really terrible if he's like, I'm going to try to get people not to fuck with me. I'm going to grow this beard.
He does look like he's made of farts. So.
Yeah,
He's getting picked on in the Marvel offices.
yeah. Silver Surfer is going to have a dick piercing. I'm
Oh,
waiting on
no.
that blowback.
Fuck.
But I guess on to the indies.
On to indies. I guess I'll start it.
Yeah, you can start her up.
I had 2 picks from last week that are of note. I decided to pick up Jupiter's Legacy, which is an awesome Mark Millar story. I'm not keen on adding too many new books because I've slimmed down my pull list, but then I talked to the dude at the comic store. He's like, you're lucky if that book comes out once every 4 months. So that's right up my
It's a
alley
Mark
right
Millar
now.
special.
Yeah. I think mostly it's because of Frank Quitely. If you remember the new X-Men arc, like I mean, there would be like 2 or 3 solid Quietly issues, and then all of a sudden you'd get that shit from Igor Korty.
Yeah,
who's like
same
probably
All-Star
one of the worst
Superman took like
artists.
1 billion years to come out as well.
Yeah, yeah.
From what I heard, so.
Yeah, and this will be 12 issues like that, so, I mean, take all the time you need. Quietly's artwork is still on point.
Just get it done before I drop dead. That's all you can ask.
This issue's kind of a issue number 4 from last week. It's a kind of a low point, just because the first 3 issues set up the whole universe, and the whole story is basically about the 2 kids of like a Superman, Wonder Woman type that got married and had kids, the Utopian and his wife, and one of them's fucked up on drugs, the girl, and the other one is just low life. They both have powers, but the male kid decides to kind of do a Caesar style, like kill the king. Like, he teams up with all of the Utopian's former superhero partners and decides to slay the beast. And there's horrible graphic murder scenes in the last 2 issues of the Utopian and his wife. And their daughter escapes with the father of her child.
Is she the legacy?
Yes, this is, I mean, yeah, it's kind of a throwaway title like Jupiter. I guess that's like the powerful god Jupiter, and these are their kids. And they're trying to do damage control and stay hidden from the superheroes. And their child is they're trying to keep him under the radar, but as you see in this issue, he has donned his own costume, and he's going out and trying to covertly save people, but they've, through news reports and stuff, the people that are trying to find him are alerted to Australia, because there's a lot of potential superhero activity, so it'll be interesting to see where this goes in another 4 or 5 months when it comes out, but I look forward to it. And pick of the last week, Starlight number 1. This is the beginning of the Millar-verse, and it doesn't really let on what that means yet. It's just a really crisp and concise first issue. Artwork by Goran Parlov. The only thing I've ever seen him do was this 4-parter Punisher versus the Marvel Universe. It was like kind of a zombie story. It was really good, at least artwork-wise.
It was when they were doing Punisher stories like they do Deadpool now.
Yeah, just
Punisher versus
Punisher
somebody.
stuff, yeah. It was kind of like that. It was a really a kind of different tone for Millar. It's like really emotionally charged. It's about this dude. And he's clearly a super, like a Flash Gordon style swashbuckling sci-fi adventurer from the past, but he went and had this kick-ass adventure and then went back to his own timeline and lived the rest of his life as normal Joe. And it's all about loss and his wife dying. So it was a surprisingly emotional read, and it's just, I don't know, it's probably one of the best books I've read in a while.
Nice.
Highly recommend it. Interested to see where this goes, and of course when Kick-Ass 3 wraps up in a couple of months, we'll kind of see more of what it means to have a Millar-verse.
That's true.
So, yeah. They've got my books.
That would take place in the same world as Kick-Ass and...
Yeah, I know Kick-Ass is
Nemesis
supposed to be
and
the same
other
thing
Millar
too. So
things.
Yeah.
That should be interesting. Well, I had one other indie book before we get into The Walking Dead that I actually don't have on my person because my stepdad has already picked it up, but it was Sons of Anarchy, number 7. I went from a miniseries to an ongoing, so interesting that they chose to do that.
it's been selling well enough.
Sales were good, I suppose. So I kept it on the list, and it was fun. This issue, interesting choice. It was about the former U.S. Marshal Lee Torek, who in the last season, if you recall, showed up to make life a living hell for the Sons of Anarchy. He was the brother of a nurse that was murdered by imprisoned Sons member Otto Delaney. So this is a flashback story of Lee Torek and like his first encounter with biker gangs and how they fucked over a friend of his and how he murdered them all. So it's just essentially a backstory on him. Now, he's a character that didn't make it out of the last season, spoiler alert. So interesting that they dedicated an issue to him. But it looks like this comic is just going to be exploring sort of the Sons of Anarchy mythology. So I didn't have a problem with that in hindsight, and kind of look forward to where this avenues that this comic series is going to explore about the show and the characters.
Nice.
It's a nice way to not necessarily trip over any stuff that they're presenting in the main storyline. So
yeah, it's true. That's probably going to be the way that they're probably going to do it for the next few issues at least.
It's a good way to keep it going.
Well, the first storyline took place between the last 2 seasons.
Also a good way to, I mean, this is the last season coming up, so if the book does keep selling well, and they want to keep it going, then you could pop right into, you know, whatever the season is. What's the next season's, like 8?
7.
7, so you could pop into, you know, turn this into season 8, you know,
like
or
Buffy
whatever.
and Smallville style.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the cool things about comics is if, you know, which one of the things the Image guy shat upon, Eric Stevenson, at the last, like, retailer summit, shat upon other properties being comics, but...
Yeah, I disagree. I like listening to Stevenson talk. I think he's pretty brilliant, and he's one of the best guys at Image, you know, as far as, like, listening to his vision on comics and the industry. But I disagree with that. I mean, I think if there's things that you like and you can put creative people behind them to continue them or keep them in your life, then I don't see a damn thing wrong with that.
I mean, look at IDW. Like, they're killing it on the charts, and that's pretty much all they do for the most part.
Yeah, I disagree too. I mean, I think most of what he said there was just like this, you know, I mean, he's first and foremost the salesperson for Image, so he's going to try to find ways, you know, easy ways to go after the big two of, you know, you're double shipping, you're doing all these gimmicks, but if you're also trying to position yourself over some of the other rising indie places like IDW, who's been doing better, and Boom's been doing better than, you know, the one way you can go after them, because they do have a lot of original books. It's like, well, they also do books about toys, and, you know, those are the same, you know, thing as doing books about heroes, been around forever, blah, blah, but, yeah, I disagree with him, too, because some of those books are awesome.
Oh, totally. Like, Ghostbusters is probably one of my favorite books right now, and it's like the only thing keeping that whole universe alive right now.
I also feel like they got a little bit of karma. Image, I mean, Image is awesome. I got a lot of Image books. Actually, now, I have more Image than Marvel, and really close to just as many Image and DC on my pull list. My pull list is gigantic, but still, that's a pretty big amount. But I did see a little bit of, like, they've been sticking their chests out pretty big the past couple months. I saw this for January, or for February, their market share dropped for the first time in, like, months, down to, like, it was almost, or right around 10% the month before, and it dropped down to, like, 8.7 or something, so that might have been a little bit of, like, a little bit of karma for sticking your chest out a little bit too far. There's a lot of those books too. I think a lot. I mean, the books are awesome, but a lot of that is. It did seem like there were about 3 months where there were like 2 or 3 Image #1s coming out like every week.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of them were highly anticipated. And unfortunately, a lot of those books have kind of gone back down to like what your standard Image book sales. Like I was looking at like Sex Criminals and Black Science, and those books are down in the 30-something thousand range, where they started out selling 50 or 60 on the first one. I mean, a lot of that I think is people trying them out, but then a lot of speculators too, which, you know, a lot of people are trying to find The Walking Dead, but if you sell 60,000 copies, then they're going to be worth the same as a book that sold 10,000.
Oh, right, yeah.
But yeah, but speaking of The Walking Dead, got issue 123. All Out War number 9 of 12, coming down to the home stretch. Pick of the week.
We're getting there. It was fantastic again, and leaving you on the cliffhanger of cliffhangers. Did they finally pull the trigger? I don't think so, but I'm certainly doubtful about it.
I don't think they did, and I really didn't like it, but there's a small part of me, like, this seems to be like the first chink in Negan's armor, because this is a really Scooby-Doo type thing to do. Like, there's a guy, like, Negan came up with this idea that if you took the arrows and stuck, like, if you took, like, arrows and stuck them, like, in zombies and got zombie guts on them, and then shot somebody with it, it would immediately turn them into a zombie, like, bypassing the dying and come back to life. They would immediately become a zombie. But here's Rick, who's the leader of, like, the opposition against him, who, for anyone, by any sort of means you imagine, if you killed Rick, that would end the rebellion against Negan, and Negan would have his way. So somebody gets right behind him in point-blank range, and instead of just shooting him in the back of the head and killing him and be done with it, they pull the Scooby-Doo, or they pull the Batman 66 route of, like, I've got you, but I'm not going to kill you, I'm going to try to turn you into a zombie. So Rick gets shot with the arrow, and you think, is he dead? Is he going to turn into a zombie? When you could have just blown his brains out and been done with it. So that's, I feel a little bit, it's still awesome, but I do feel a little bit of like Rick got out the way that Batman got, you know. They had to have the old school 60s villain style of like, death isn't good enough, even though I can kill you right now, I'm going to turn you into a zombie.
Will Rick Grimes escape the arrow's deadly touch?
Yeah,
that's pretty much where they left us. But I'm certainly
it's a big
buying
cliffhanger,
it. You know, I still want to see what happens next month. And,
yeah, I got 2 weeks till we get another one of those, and then, yeah, I mean, 6 weeks it'll be over. I mean, 2 weeks to issue 10 and 4 more. Yeah, Walking Dead, man, as exciting as it's ever been.
All Out War, and it has lived up to its name.
Yeah, and it's selling like crazy, BT Dub. But
oh, nice.
It's on the top graphic novel, something crazy. A little bit of bad news for comics. I did see that for last month, sales are down 10% from last year's February. And it's the first time.
It was like 2 months in a row.
It's the first time in almost 3 years that they've gone down. That sales have gone down. So. I mean, it's probably gonna, you're gonna have some attrition, probably go like a little bit down towards like where they were. Also, to note though, as much as people hate them, not really a lot of events going on this month. People hate events, but they sell. Because I mean, you imagine, say DC and Marvel each had one other big, you know, line-wide event going on and sold 100,000 copies apiece. Sales would be about where they're supposed to be. So that is something, you know, a little bit different. I think a lot of it is though is because all these Marvel #1s aren't fooling people like they thought they would.
Oh,
like,
right, yeah.
You're not seeing the giant spike in sales that like people thought they would see because you know,
we need actual #1s.
I think it's affecting
Marvel.
their other books too. It probably confuses people to the point to where they're like, if you see, you know, walk in and see Deadpool #1, oops, on the bottom it's issue number 25. Then maybe you walk over to Moon Knight and they're like, is this #1? I don't know. I don't think any of these are #1s, and I think it may end up biting them in the ass, like trying to trick everybody. But anywho. Graphic novels were up though, so that was good.
Oh, yeah.
Sales are up, but no DC and Marvel in the top 10 for the first time in forever. There was a shit ton of Walking Dead and a bunch of Adventure Time. I think it was like most of the top 10. Yeah, so that was kind of crazy as well. But what you got coming next week?
I have Thor. I have Uncanny X-Men. I have Winter Soldier: The Bitter March. And I have The Final Animal Man by Jeff Lemire. Or Final Animal Man, period, because the title is ending after this. So, going to be a bittersweet edition of Getchyapulls as we say goodbye to Buddy Baker, at least in solo title form.
It was Travel Foreman coming back for the last issue, too. So let me check it out, at least for that. Nice.
I got, I believe that Daredevil #1 comes out next week. So they got the relaunch of that. I got a new Lazarus coming, I'm pretty sure.
Lazeus,
so that's awesome. I believe in new Sex Criminals. That's awesome. I got Superman Unchained. That book seems like it's been going 3 years, but I think this is issue number 6 coming out.
Yeah.
Really on the ball with that artwork, Ghibli.
He's the man in charge. He's like, hey, back off.
Yeah, then I got something else. I can't remember, but I got 5 coming next week. So
I have no
decent
pulls.
Little week.
No pulls for me next week, so I might use my money on a new long box or something. Reestablish my long boxes since they got waterlogged back there.
Oh no!
Yeah. Just trying to slowly get them back in boxes.
Well, that's the worst. But if you're in Todd's situation, then go to the comic book store, buy a long box, and protect your pulls.